Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we have the pleasure to welcome Shayan from Montreal. Thank you so much for being here.
Nice to see you.
And with a huge background in construction in Montreal, so we're gonna together with Louis, we're gonna make some comparison between Montreal and Miami, just as we did last time with Brazil.
Yeah.
So can't wait to get started and let's see.
Let's do it.
Shayan, good to see you first of all. Just tell us a bit about your background in Montreal and everything that you did there, and then we'll bring to Miami. So yeah, what did you do in Montreal growing up? And yeah, basically.
So I come from a construction background.
Yeah.
Family's been in construction. We've had our company for almost 35 years.
Nice.
We do industrial, we do stadiums. We're like the #1 stadium guys in Quebec. And now we're doing more multifamily. We also do a little bit of development, which we can get a little bit more into later. But myself, I've done sixplex. I've done full renos of old buildings, and basically from A to Z, the building it from the beginning to getting it leased out, and getting it on the market, ready to go.
So stadiums, you said?
Yeah, we've done
Wow.
stadiums, soccer stadiums.
Which one?
In Quebec.
For a famous team or?
No. So the government there, they really push a lot of like community centers and stuff. So, we've done like Olympic stadium, like a pool,
Wow.
but more for soccer stadiums. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So basically, you grew up all your life in Montreal doing these projects, or did you live somewhere else first?
So I've lived all over Canada. I've lived. I was born in Montreal, and then I moved to Vancouver when I was, around 8 years old or something like that. And then I came back to Montreal, then moved to Toronto, then back to Montreal. So I've been all around the Canadian.
So you know your way around.
I know my way around
Yeah.
Canada. Yeah.
Nice, man. So let's just jump straight to it. Like, what attracts you about Miami? What do you think is special about Miami in the construction market? You were building sixplexes and stuff like that in Montreal, and what attracted you to Miami?
So, we're general contractors, and so a big part of general contracting is, first of all, we do design build. So we work with our clients, and we kind of we cater to their needs and build something together in a way where they're going to be very happy and use us again. And that's probably why we have such high success with the municipality and the different people that are in the government there, because they like our product and they say, these guys work well, they work really cheap. We've always beaten people on prices, and we still present a great quality product. What attracted me here specifically was getting into the development side of things.
Nice.
Because you could only go so far just being a general contractor, and we have gotten parcels of land, developed it with our getting the entitlements, permits, whatever. But the key is whether you build it or you just sell it as is. Which obviously in the perfect world you would build what you put on, with your entitlements and stuff. So I wanted to get into the financing side of things to see how we can get these projects running and going, and the program here was very good.
Oh yeah, actually, just going back to what you said in the beginning about design build. So you mean that you partner with architects back in Montreal to work on the design spot, or is it something that is more like already set in place, there's no need for specific architecture, it's more simple buildings? What's kind of your go-to in terms of those things?
So we do partner with architects, but the head of the company is an architect.
So you already have someone internally?
Yeah, okay. But he likes to work with other architects as well, just to kind of get it stamped and approved and everything. And so we work with the client to give something that they want.
Right. So now let's go into the comparison between Montreal, Canada. We know it has its issues, and Miami. I mean, Miami is known for its development.
Yeah.
So since you moved here, what are some things that have surprised you in terms of construction? Like just comparing to, let's just say, the sixplex that you built or anything else. Like, what are some things that you realized and shocked you?
So I spent a lot of time. Specifically part of my job in Montreal, going to the city, trying to get the zoning and permits, whatever, and it always seemed like the city was resistant. They didn't want to push the project forward, and
You went to
it's
all
always,
done, like
there's just so many checklists. I'm not saying it's impossible to get something going, obviously, because there's a lot of projects happening all the time, but it's a lot slower and it's at a way less efficient pace than it is in Miami. So the first thing I noticed here was how the state, Florida, is pushing developers to build, and they're kind of saying, you don't have to listen to the cities, whatever, because with the Live Local Act, for example, like the state has a lot more power than the municipality, whereas in Canada, the municipalities have a lot of power. So
more than here, you would say, yeah.
yeah, I mean, every little region, whether it's
It's very independent.
yeah, because like this is a historic building, or you can only build to this amount because all these buildings are old. There's not a lot of leeway for developers there. So you kind of have to work with what you have, and projects could take up to 2 years for permits and everything to get approved. They have too many notes.
2 years, you say?
2 years, yeah. It takes a very long time to get a project going there. And whereas here, it's like, they push. That's the difference. With Live Local specifically, which is workforce housing, they're pushing people to build a lot more by giving incentives where if you have a certain amount of people that are workforce housing, I think it's 72 units minimum, it has to be. Under $80,000, then they kind of give you, it has to be 40%.
Right.
Then they let you kind of go, and you can build as high as you want within a mile. The building that's highest within a mile, you can build the same amount. So.
All right. Yeah, that's interesting, because actually we've heard in the past. I mean, first of all, this is a very different type of approach, because so far we've been talking to people that are more into the ultra luxury. So it's very interesting to talk about things that are more like Live Local and people in workforce housing. That's very nice for our audience to hear. But also, it's curious because in Miami and here overall, people complain a lot about times for permitting and all of those things. So for you, it takes basically double the time that it would take for me as a single family developer to get a permit. It would be the similar for sixplex. So it takes like about a year. You're saying 2 years. So we're coming from a long way back. So it's interesting to see that actually 1 year might not be as much as we think it is. It's
and
not
we
that
see
much.
that we always complain about our situation, and then we see that sometimes it's worse somewhere else, like in Canada, for example. And I'm jumping back into what you said, like your strategy to get the contract. More or less, if I understood well, it was to be less expensive than your competitors.
Yeah, I mean, give a good quality product. We work a lot with partners that we've had for many years, so we're able to get good prices from our subcontractors. And many times we're honest too. A lot of people like to double dip, whatever, and especially in construction. But
yeah, because you never really know
Yeah.
about one price and another. You don't.
100%.
It's always almost like.
And when you build
You never know, because like, for example, we did a 500,000 square feet, 600,000 square feet industrial building, like almost like an Amazon warehouse. And I think the guy who we beat, I think total cost was like 55 million or something like that. And then the guy that we beat was almost almost double. So
That's crazy.
We saved the guy so much money. He loves us so much. So we're getting back-to-back work with this guy with developing a multifamily, 210 units right now in an area, and we're partnering with this guy. And so really, when you can be honest and give a good price, especially because a lot of people, they construction is a very hard thing to kind of get an accurate price, especially estimation. That's the thing. So
And the price is always a big surprise, and most of the time a bad surprise when the guy receives the quote, right?
yeah, and sometimes we lose out the price. Sometimes people beat our prices.
Right.
So it's not always 100%, but usually we come up pretty good.
So how do you price something like? What do you think? What do you do? Do you do like a cost plus? You give them a first estimate, and then there's going to be additional cost depending on what quotes you end up receiving, or do you do a guaranteed max price? Like, here usually the base here would be cost plus. Guaranteed max price is really hard to get because of course the GC, the general contractor, is not going to know exactly, and they cannot take that kind of risk. So what's the thing that you usually do?
Well, generally, I mean, we have done that where we give a price and we kind of want to stick to it, and it's like a stab in our stomach or whatever every time we gotta tell the guy like, hey, like it's a little bit more than it is, but we kind of we give the option to the client whatever they want,
right?
Design build, usually it is cost plus, so because you're kind of going as you go with the client. So yeah.
Nice. So what excites you about Miami? Like, what would you like to do here?
Well, in a perfect world, I would have development back at home, Montreal and Miami, and it's the same time zone. It's like a 3-hour flight.
It's the same time zone, so it would be perfect.
Perfect, and then it's like during the winters. That's one of the things I love. Winter. It's a beautiful season. You could go skiing. You can go play hockey with your friends. It's amazing. But 6 months of staying indoors.
Sometimes it's too long.
Yeah, so I'd prefer to have a lifestyle where it's a little bit more balanced,
Right.
And also thanks to the same time zone, you could have your whole team still in Canada, and the people in the office and the operation guy here. So
it's easy to manage, right?
Easier because sometimes when you have people in France, it's just a 6-hour difference. Sometimes you get to manage and you get to have some meetings very late in France. So sometimes it's kind of hard. And so here you would focus more on luxury or affordable. What would be your strategy if you would have to start here?
Well, that's the beauty of where I'm at right now. I'm working with a brokerage and constantly looking at multifamily deals. So anything from 8 to 100 units. And I'm able to dissect the market through looking at these deals, underwriting these deals, and knowing what the activity is in investment properties. And that would be something ideally I would build, investment properties. And I'm not trying to go crazy and build luxury, whatever. Obviously, I would love to, but it seems like there's a demand for workforce housing, and that's kind of what the developers are getting a lot of incentives with. So that might be a good start, I think.
Because we are
housing projects.
Us too, we are more used to the luxury markets, so it's very good to have you to give us some insight. Especially if you have seen some things that you want to share here in Miami, and you see this market, because we are completely convinced that the luxury markets, of course we cannot say that it's going to go up for sure, but we are almost sure about that. What about this kind of market? You see the same trend, or?
I do see, Miami I think has historically been a boom and bust cycle, but the booms are a lot longer than the busts. The busts kind of always pick up pretty fast. And there's no shortage of money from South America, from all over the world that wants to be in America. And right now, California is pretty down, New York's pretty down.
Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago. And these places, they're nice and stuff, but there's really a tax incentive to be in Miami and in South Florida. So, I think a lot of people from that category are going to come to you guys. But that's going to be also maybe at the cost of the middle class, which we're seeing disappear. A lot of people, like in Wynwood, for example, a lot of these buildings, I think, in my opinion, are there for the middle class. And it's hard to rent these out. So what they're doing is they're giving 2-3 months free rent, and it's still, they're having trouble. So what does that mean? It means there's going to be need for workforce housing.
Yeah, I mean, I hear Miami or Southeast Florida in general has become a really, really unaffordable market in terms of general terms. Of course, for luxury and everything, it's doing great, but it's really unaffordable for the working class. So I am sure that there is space for development in that area as well. So it's good to capitalize on some of those things, because we always speak to the people that are in the same type of projects as we are. So we don't really get to see that, but I'm sure there is plenty that are also looking into that, such as you. So I mean, I'm sure you're going to do great. But I actually had a question going back to Montreal, because I looked at a project back a while ago. They did a big bridge. I don't remember what city, and they had to stop for months during the winter, and the guys they came out only for 30 minutes, and they had to go back warm up. So basically, when you build, how do you, or do you even like calculate for the winter time?
Yeah, I mean that's a big part of it. Is a lot of construction, especially you go in the city.
Yeah.
It becomes like hell in the summer. Like
Yeah.
the roads, everything you can't. Roubaré, which in
the
French
winter,
means the road is blocked. So that's a joke if you're driving in Montreal. You know, the city itself is an older city, so it feels very European. So tight streets, and then you see Roubaré, all one ways. So you're kind of like, you're losing zigzagging everywhere. It's a disaster.
Nice.
So they slammed the construction in the summer as much as they could, especially the city. We have some of the worst potholes in North America. And that's because the weather always, you know, the cold expands everything. So yeah, for winter, sometimes you just can't work in some days. So, you know, if it's too cold, people don't come. You know, if you're pouring concrete, there might be some trouble with like the way it dries.
You have to like cover it up sometimes.
Yeah.
Is there a regulation about like how many degrees at, I don't know, minus 20 you cannot work, or?
I'm not 100% sure, but generally just it's people can't work in those conditions,
It's
especially
freezing.
if you're outside. Like we're doing the 210 units I'm talking about. You know, they just did the base, the parking, and then now they're doing the, you know, so it's the people were way too cold. So some days they have to tell the concrete guys like, sorry, like we can't work today. You know, like the trucks and everything, they're ready to go, but just not today. We're gonna have to postpone it next week.
And you try to forecast this, like you know that in the winter season you're gonna maybe have 30 days in total that you are not going to be able to work on the work site, or?
Yeah, I mean, look, if a job that
I mean, for the clients.
If this is the way it is, it's in 50. Like you can do a job in 15 days in the summer. Like I'm just saying, like, but in the winter it's going to take 30 days.
Double,
Almost
Wow.
double. Yeah, but that's really for the outside, exterior, whatever.
Yeah,
and it
the
depends
inside.
on what type of building you're doing as well. You know, if you're doing a lot of concrete, then it's tougher. So they usually want to get the structure ready by the winter. So that way you can all work inside and it's heated up inside. And
So you do often see, like, for example, as soon as the spring comes and the good weather comes, you see like a lot of people breaking ground basically on their project because they want to start now and get done by the time
like
of winter to
flowers.
have flowers.
exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's
funny.
when you want to excavate is always during that time in the summer or spring, whatever, you know, that's when projects
Oh,
are.
yeah, you just have to work with seasons because here we have people keep saying like warm and warmer or hot and hotter, whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, here when you start developing or you start doing projects here, you will basically be dealing with the opposite. It's just extreme heat, and people don't want to be outside. Guys don't come because they don't want to be outside.
Yeah.
Like they're like, oh my god, not today. You know, today is like 37 degrees and 100% humidity. I'm not coming. So yeah, you're gonna deal with different things. But let's just go back to another thing. You said that you want to work between Miami and Montreal.
Yeah.
Because I guess in Montreal you have already a big structure and you have a lot of work. But in terms of like where you think the values to be created or monies to be made, you think Miami is a bigger market than it is in Canada, for example?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Canada, I mean, the differences in the market is, I think, well, we've had such a difficult time in Canada specifically with the leadership there. Right now we have a new leader. He's trying to pick things up slowly. He's giving a lot of incentives to developers to kind of, get projects going. But, that's the thing about Canada. Things in the government always take time and you can't rely too much on them,
How long does a president or prime minister stay?
Oh, well, it's
5 years?
I believe it's like 4 or 5 years, but he can be as long as he wants.
As long as there is no limit, like in France, it's 2 times and maximum.
No, Trudeau, I think, was there for almost 10 years. The guy before him, 10 years too. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I see. I mean,
longer, 12 years.
the politics system is completely different, and I'm sure it has its issues, and it's maybe slower, maybe faster. But I mean, I guess there's like different areas of Canada that are different, right? I mean, Quebec versus other.
Quebec. Okay, so Quebec is probably so basically, just to give a little history lesson, is we had a referendum where Quebec wanted to separate from the rest of Canada because the French there are very vocal about they want to preserve French, and that happened with René Lévesque in the 70s and then also in the 90s as well. So we used to be the center of the Canada. We had the Olympics and everyone was coming in. It was a beautiful city and they developed they developed like crazy in the 70s. But then when these French separatists came, a lot of people took their money and ran to Toronto.
All right.
They all ran to Toronto, and then Toronto, not overnight, but just became like a behemoth. And so now that's the business capital in Canada, is in Toronto. And then there's Vancouver as well. But the thing with Toronto is they overbuilt condos, there's, I think since 2022, 75% down in condo sales.
Wow.
So it's Montreal stayed safe.
But the curious thing is that I hear, I don't know if I read it, I don't know how long it was, maybe a year or two ago, I read that there was a huge shortage of housing in Canada. Is that true? Or what have you heard as a local?
Yeah, no, it's true. It's very hard to get a house as a young person. The new government is trying to push all of Canada to build 500,000 new houses per year. 500,000 new houses per year. Don't forget, we have
affordable or
just houses. And then they're doing incentives for young people as well, where basically you don't have to pay taxes. I think if you're a first-time home buyer, you can have savings at TFSA's first-time home buyer account. Where
in France we have that too.
Yeah. How much does that work? I don't know. What I think is they gotta, it's just the government is too,
you can say that you want 500,000 homes built, but if you take 2 years to allow a permit for a small building, then 100%. You're gonna have a hard time making this happen.
Justin Trudeau for 10 years was saying we're working on a housing thing, and no, we never saw what happened. So they talk a lot, but when you see it in action, I'm trying to be more hopeful about this new government.
But I see populations grow, but there's not enough housing being built, right?
As a first owner, how much would you say it costs to buy a house? Very classic
in Montreal,
house.
an apartment or a house?
Apartment or house, more or less the same square foot. Let's say 2 bedrooms. What would you say?
2 bedroom.
To have a comparison with here.
In the city, it depends. In the city of Montreal, it's anywhere from 800 to $1 million. You can definitely find something a little lower.
So it's still expensive.
The farther you go.
But this is Canadian,
Toronto,
right?
it's $1 million.
This is in Canadian.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it is to $2, but it's a little bit less.
It's you guys are, I think, almost 40% more.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
So just times 40%. And then you'll see how much that is.
Yeah, so that's not that much actually for a 2-bedroom. Compared to in Miami, in Brickell, actually you get it's $1 million to get a nice 2-bedroom.
Yeah.
But going back to my point, Montreal is kind of a city that's been, not a lot of business.
Stabilized, kind of.
Yeah, it's very conservative, stabilized. You can't open a business there if there's no French infrastructure. They have the French police. They come in and they try to see.
Really?
Yeah. It's very not business friendly. So we have the ability to be the biggest, best province in Canada. I believe so with our water. We have a lot of hydroelectricity. Our steel industry is big. Our aviation, Bombardier, that's from Quebec.
Oh yeah.
But our the politics is kind of what is holding us back.
Yeah, because I believe they're not really their tax policies are not really business friendly, and they don't really attract 100%. New business. So if they want to attract new business for new developers, like here in Miami, we see developers that come overnight. They just decide that tomorrow I'm going to develop in Miami.
100%.
But and it excites people to come to Miami. Just like you want to develop some things in Miami, but I don't see people getting excited about building in Montreal. It's true because basically there's no incentive, and I think that's the biggest issue. I don't know what you think about that, but being taxed way more. The workforce is taxed higher. Just the income tax is higher.
It's true.
So just overall, I think that's a big thing. I think at the end of the day, it usually goes down to basically how much it costs for you and what's the incentive, how much you're gonna pay.
Everyone is looking at that in the end. You can say everything.
That's
in the
what
end.
matters.
That's the main point.
100%. And I think if you
even
look at
if people don't say it, everyone look at it. So
the tax, you get taxed 53% for state and provincial together.
That's great.
For us, it's provincial and federal. My bad. But the things I will say that highlight, I think, what I think is Miami could take a book from Montreal. Is just the livability of a city. Here we're building like high, like you don't feel like a human being sometimes in these big cities. But when you go back to a place like France or Montreal, there's almost a certain feeling like, oh, I'm a part of the city. It's a little bit more walkable, very much more walkable.
So what city would you compare Montreal to if you were to compare it to another city, maybe in the US or in Europe? Like, is it more like a New York? Is it more like a Paris? Is it what kind of like vibe does it give you
It definitely has an East Coast vibe. So like New York it's a very big city. So I wouldn't compare it to New York. I think Toronto is more like New York, but it has a East Coast vibe. It definitely has more of a European feeling to it because we have a lot of one-ways. Like a lot of our homes were built by people that were building homes in France, you know? So
you can see the style.
Oh yeah, it's our architecture is all French. We have old Montreal. It's all cobblestone roads. It's very very old-looking city. Its infrastructure is very old.
And there is not, I guess, so if you are saying that, there is not the same trend as here that exactly the same thing that we were saying last time.
Yeah.
Every 30 or 40 years, like a house gets teared down, and in Montreal, just as in Europe, they keep it, right?
Pretty much.
And like you renovate and try to keep it in the family and everything, no?
Yeah, we have a building that's from the 1800s.
1870
You don't
see
here
this
you cannot even imagine.
I mean, of course, the US was the Declaration of Independence was like just after that, but just before that, but so you cannot see these kind of old buildings, but
that's the vibe.
There's not that much preservation here, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas there, that might also be like kind of a blocking point, in terms of like development, because if you have so much protection of like historical protection, that might also like kind of slow things down, right?
100%, because even if like let's say there is a parcel of land that's in that area, you gotta like abide by all these rules. You gotta build brick because that's brick. You got so all the buildings, even the new buildings, they look fresh, but they're not like an innovative style.
It's not like here.
No, it's not like
here. We are in a brand new building, Flow actually, and it's like 2025.
Thank you, Adam Newman.
And
thank you for the spot.
Thank you. And it's super modern. Like it's completely the opposite of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it doesn't match you do whatever you want. You don't have to match anything around. First of all, there's nothing around here.
No.
Just to begin with, we're in the middle of we're in Brickell, but there's nothing.
We're in the edge of Brickell, by the water.
So it's nice, but literally the shape of this building is very special, and I think you would have a really hard time building something of this sort in Montreal, right?
Yeah, it's massive. This building is beautiful. It's massive.
I love it.
There's a lot of business, mindedness coming. Like, okay, we're gonna build a building where you can have, your Pilates down there. You can do a coffee shop here. They have everything in.
And you can do a podcast right here.
Yeah, and it's included in the rent. It's like a business,
Yeah.
So entrepreneurs, I think, thrive.
So you didn't pay it. You didn't pay for that?
Don't tell anybody.
So it's included.
Of course, it's included. Well, I think we've went around what we wanted to talk to you about. We're really excited for you to have come to Miami.
Thank you.
I know you put a foot in the door just like me with this master's degree that we're doing, and I think it's really helpful having a lot of connections. And then the next step is just to start developing a project. We are thinking about some specific project, but they might not fit your agenda kind of for affordable housing, but we never know if we can
I'm not married to affordable housing.
Yeah.
It's just something that I see as like something that's a little bit more in demand and easier to kind of get off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're doing these affordable housing projects, like you can still have building units in the building that are not necessarily just affordable housing. It's 40% or something.
Remember last time, close to the Keys, we have seen like a huge program starting in the low 400. Remember?
It was like townhouses, no?
Townhouses.
Or even homes, townhouses, and they were like selling for how much? 400 a square foot or
the
something
low
crazy
400s,
like that.
1,000. So it was like selling for how much you say? Yeah,
Like 400 a square foot or something like that.
300.
I don't remember, but it was
like
really, really low.
Very-
If you compare it to some things in Miami, I mean, a recent sale in the Venetian Islands is close to like 6,000 a square foot. So you just go a little bit further and you can find like really, really affordable things. Of course, you're not on the water;
Yeah.
it's not the same.
12
thing,
times
but
less
it's like, come
expensive.
on, like the gap is just huge in terms of. So I think there's every world here to be just tackled and worked
true.
on.
Yes, there is a room for everyone.
Yeah, the construction is a little bit more expensive here, though.
Oh, for sure,
Because
yeah.
you know, like in Montreal or like any city in Canada, I think even South Florida specifically, you can't build too much with wood.
No, you can't, yeah, because of hurricanes. I mean, you can, but it's just.
It's just
Sometimes
not
you see them.
viable.
Last time I was in Manalapan.
Alapara?
No.
Manalapan.
Manalapan is
I've
up
seen
north.
some, and even on the other coast of Florida. Remember, we have seen like a house built in
Yeah,
wood
we've seen.
structures. So
Yeah, but they're at risk.
people
from hurricane.
sometimes they like taking the risk. And I would have a question. What is the average cost of construction there for a building and for a house?
350 square foot, but if you're doing a wood, it's
350 per square foot?
Yeah.
But that's Canadian
wood?
dollars, so it's like 200 something in USD. Here you
Yeah.
cannot build for less than 400 and something in the city of Miami.
Yeah.
We know that for luxury kind of for houses
Uh-huh.
is 1,000 more or less.
Oh,
Yeah, you can get up to 1,000 if you're doing like really, really high end. Of course, houses. I'm not talking
Mm-hmm.
about condos. But if you're doing a luxury condo, you might be half of that, but it's still pretty high.
Yeah,
Like,
it's still very high.
yeah.
I mean, it's a super high price. 'Cause if you said 350, and for a house, how much?
Similar or?
We don't do houses. We don't do houses. We do like mainly, investment grade properties or, industrial, commercial properties. We do.
Okay, so it's very
So
different.
even car dealerships.
And
Oh, nice.
And
Like
then-
H. Gregg here, that's what we were
That's
the
the kind
ones.
of thing you do?
We built the first H. Greggs.
Wow.
Yeah, and then he came
Congrats.
here, and we didn't really come with him, but he did his
Of
own
course.
thing here.
But now you're here.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Now it's
So
your time
maybe
to
I'm
take
gonna
over.
work with him. We'll see.
Who knows?
Yeah.
when they buy investment property from you GC, which NOI they can expect in Canada, more or less for
So the
leasing building, let's say.
I mean, the GC really, our job is to.
No, I mean for the guy that buy it.
I'm sure he
more or
knows.
less?
Sorry.
I don't know. Like what's like the percentage of return, like the cap rate or something like that? Is it? I mean, we've looked at these here in Miami. We know them by heart, but I don't know if you're in the same business in Canada. You're probably more into construction and you don't really
No,
look
I mean,
into
I
that.
know because obviously I'm always looking at different properties in Montreal, like,
Right.
16plex, 4plex, whatever, because if you could buy an asset that's, already making money, that's a good deal, but it needs to be the right price. But they really, especially in the areas that I like, like Le Plateau, Montreal, that's like my favorite place. It's a very low cap rate. It's like 4%, crazy low cap rates.
But they bet on the
Some sort of appreciation or
and the
safety.
value to.
Because it's like a like a popular area.
You will be surprised because sometimes people invest at 1 or 2%. So just because they want to preserve the capital, it's crazy. Yeah?
Yeah, because we were talking about that the other day actually with
Stupid money.
With Shayan. He's like, we're talking about stupid money. It's mean people that have money that is at risk somewhere else, and they just want to bring it here to have it safe. So it's just a
And
way of
also they
pricing.
bet on the appreciation a lot because if you
they
know
do,
that in
but-
sometimes you can get 3 or 4%, but on the other side if you get maybe 7 or 8, in the end it's a 10% per year. So
Yeah, I mean, you keep your money. So that was a big thing that happened in Canada was people coming into Vancouver and Toronto. Part of the reason why the market's a little bit iffy there is a lot of money was coming from China, big money from China, and same thing. They would be involved with the government. I don't know how they get the money there, but they wanted to get it out as soon as possible. And so they would buy up, Toronto and what's it called? And Vancouver. They would they'd fund these big construction projects, which was great. But then in 2023, Justin Trudeau put a ban on these type of people.
stop.
Yeah, which they thought was going to be better because things were getting unaffordable. But if anything, it stopped most of the construction projects.
Oh yeah.
Because those were the
It
guys
was funded
bringing it
by.
in. Just like here in Miami, a lot of the money's not 100%.
Well, that we don't know.
The money's all over the place. But I'm saying it's tough when international money can't come into your market.
True.
So next year, 2027, I think they're gonna, open it up again to the.
I see.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Pierre? I think
I'm
went
all
around.
good. I can't wait to see, as I always say to the guests, I can't wait to see you starting the Miami real estate, and we're gonna try to help you to do things together. And
Thank you.
yeah, let's can't wait to see you starting.
Thank you for the chat, man.
Thank you.
Always good.
I'm happy we didn't do it in French because.
Yeah, it would have been tough.
Let's do it.
Let's do it now in French.
D'accord, on peut parler.
On peut parler français, tabarnak.
Ouais, tabarouette, c'est calice.
Okay, bye bye.